is Tasha from Real Talk with Tasha, and today I'm here with my Artist of the Week. Every week I'm going to be bringing you a new artist, whether it's an author, a musician, poet. If they're artists, they're going to come on my show. So I would like to introduce you to my first Artist of the Week, Mr. Anthony Bell. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, what's up? Everything good? Sometimes thanks for having me on your show. Talk about the many parts of me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Anthony wrote a book. It's called The Many Parts of Me, Insights from a Gentleman. That's you on the front. And it looks like you're matching it today on purpose, are you?
I didn't, no.
Plan it?
All right. To myself, I guess.
All right, well, it looks good, though. I'm very proud of you. Let me give you some history on Anthony. I've known him since we were 9 years old. I mean, even back when, before he wanted to be an artist, he wanted to be a real life dolphin. Like, not the football player, but the animal dolphin. So, that's just a little history. That's the insight from a gentleman dolphin / dolphin. Anthony, can you please go ahead and tell my viewers who you are? Tell them about yourself.
Well, like you say, from my first dream of being a real life dolphin, all right, you know, I didn't evolve from that point. So, right now, like I'm doing mental health. I do mental health. I'm really into like mentoring those from my generation as well as the ones coming up from behind me. I'm really into you know, life is, you know, what it is. I'm into my life right now, doing the book, writing, learning more about the business aspects of authorship and everything that comes with it. So it's been a great process for me. You know, right now I'm trying to enjoy it the best way that I can.
So who are you, though?
I am the guy that introduces the gentleman's standard as it is in the book.
Now let me tell you about something about this gentleman's standard. Like I said, we go way back. This gentleman's standard has been in him from the beginning. This is something that he lives by. Anyone who knows him, they know that he lives by this gentleman's standard. Anthony, where are you from and how old are you?
I'm a native of Delaware. I'm about to turn 32.
When? On Monday?
Is it Monday?
He can't remember his birthday.
I really don't. I stopped keeping track of birthdays after I turned 25. They come too quickly, and I feel it. So yes, I'm about to be 32 in November, and I'm not really looking forward to that, but.
All right, well, we're going to tell him a good old happy birthday. I'm going to call you on your birthday and tell you happy birthday anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get right into this book, sir. All right, so let's just break this thing down. I see that there's a puzzle piece on the front. What does this puzzle mean? And then I want you to tell me why you wrote this book and what inspired you to write this book.
You know something? Now that I think about the question that you asked, about who am I, when I look at the book and you see the puzzle pieces, those puzzle pieces represents the many parts of who I am. When you look at the title of the book, Insights from a Gentleman, that's the part of me that's talking to you. And there's several different parts to who I am. And for that matter, people are several different parts. So that's the part of me that speaks to the reader. And the book is the gentleman part of me. So that's what those puzzle pieces are. They represent the different parts of me and how everything comes together to make this one complete individual man. So that's what that represents.
And what inspired you to write this book? Because it's very good. So what inspired you to write this book? And yeah.
The inspiration to write the book, I actually started writing it was in 2006. Mm-hmm. The first 3 chapters. And I started passing them out as articles to different women. And they were, you're right, you was, you did. And a few older ones, and I didn't really think about the content and how big it was until I started getting feedback from it. And they actually wanted to know more. I think they found my perspective interesting for my age, so they wanted more of it. So that's how initially I was inspired to write the book. I put it down for a little while. 2010, I picked it back up. Of course, between those two times, it's been a few years that passed, so I gained a little bit more knowledge, had more interactions and things like that. So I was able to pick it back up, and from that point on, I just ran with it. Everything just started coming to me and making more sense. By my different interactions with women, my observations, my conversations with them, different events. So that's what inspired me.
That's all right. And I'm gonna tell my viewers, I read this book in one night. It's pretty small, but some people take a little while to read a book. It don't matter how big it is. Some people take a while. But once I started reading this book, I couldn't put it down, and I just read right through it last night. And after I was done reading it, it made me, I was proud of my friend. I was proud of him, number one, but then I was also inspired and enlightened all at the same time.
Right.
So I want to go through some of these chapters. We're not going to take a long time on them because I don't want to give the whole book up because people really do need to buy this book.
Please don't get the whole book up.
I'm not. I'm going to jump because you have a chapter called Introducing His Character.
In introducing his character, I talk about the gentleman as it relates to being an uncommon man. All right? And being a gentleman, if you're genuinely that's uncommon in the society that we live in. But it talks about the different characteristic traits of who a gentleman is. Him being caring, kind, him being honest, him being honorable, him being humble, him being willing to accept the woman's perspective and see things from both sides. His integrity means everything to him. Chemistry, communication, like these are the things that make him who he is.
When I read this chapter, Introducing His Character, I kind of saw myself in this book.
Oh yeah.
This is the part where I saw myself, and this is where I get a little transparent. And this speaks volumes on your character, introducing his character. Because at the end of this chapter, you're talking about Celeste and how she's telling Anthony that he's scared of commitment because of the fact that she's expressing how she feels and he's kind of like, no, straightforward.
Right.
And so she gets upset and she has her bridezilla moment. And Anthony being the perfect gentleman, that doesn't mean like opening doors, but understanding where Celeste is coming from, like, all right, she's having her, I'm not gonna let that affect the way I react. Me and him actually had a situation like this. Like,
we did.
We had a real situation where it acted out. Can you remember what happened? Can you remember?
Not in detail,
I
but
can. There was a time when I thought that Anthony was my husband. You know how church women meet their first man after they get saved and be like, Lord Jesus, I done met my husband, Lord. I thought Anthony was my husband. I thought that I was going to be Miss Dolphin, right? I thought I was going to be Miss Dolphin. So finally I got up the nerve because I'm an emotional creature, as you say in this book. And I can't handle my emotions because I'm unstable. Not right now, but at the time. And Anthony was the first good guy I ever ran into after a while. But finally I said to you, Anthony, do we have a chance? And he was so straightforward with me. What'd you say to me? Do you remember?
I don't.
That is a shame because he told me that we were friends. There was not going to be anything else. So in that, being straightforward, that was a part of his character. Because for me, you know, I'm looking at him like he was just straightforward with me. And I could have took it the other way and been like, oh, you scared of commitment. But at some point in time, I had prayed and asked God, break whatever it is that I have formed within myself with this man. And God asked you, and you told me the truth, and then that was it. And so their boundaries were put up, and we never had that problem ever again. You remember that?
I do.
It was like Christmas Eve or a couple days before Christmas.
I do.
Women remember everything. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next chapter. We're keeping it thorough. Can you explain what the chapter, part of what that keeping it thorough?
Yeah, like keeping it thorough is just what it says. It talks about a guy being congruent, his words, his behavior, his thoughts all being congruent. Everything being in alignment. You can't have a guy like telling you one thing and then his actions and his behavior sending you another message. Now, with that being said, if I be honest, like I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of not being congruent in my behavior and my words. And I understand like now how important that is. Okay? Because words mean something. You know, how people want to talk about sticks and stones may break our bones, but words don't hurt us. That's a lie. That's a lie. You know, I know people and even myself, there's things that have been told to me that was life-changing. Mm-hmm. You know, and that I still hold on to and think about. There's still memories, like when people tell us things, you know, it can be life-changing, but words, you know, keeping it thorough is a lot of it has to deal with words and behavior being congruent and understanding that if you do that, then there's no reason for a woman or anybody else to doubt who you are as a person or how you can come through when they see an example of somebody being congruent with their behavior, their words and behavior.
So let me ask you a question, and this is not one of the questions that I wrote down, but while you're talking, you know, I'm feeling it. I like your socks, by the way. Did you get them socks? Socks. Do you see his socks?
Man.
Oh boy's socks is matching his shirt and his handkerchief because he's a gent. And the coordination. So what? Because this isn't the Anthony that's always been Anthony.
Exactly.
You know, this is the question that's different from what made you write this book. The question I have, other than what made you write this book, what brought you to the point to where now you are a gentleman? And I go like this because people take gentlemen in different ways, mm-hmm. But where you are a man modeled after a man's man, and how men are supposed to treat women and how a man is supposed to conduct himself, because you haven't always been like this. So what brought you to this point at your age of 31 for you to mature? What happened? What had to happen? Who was Anthony before this? That's what people want to know, because you wasn't this. Who was you and what got you to this?
The Anthony before was not very conscious of who he was as a person. When you're in a place where you're in low vibration, low consciousness, you really don't have a concept of self, that's a person who's pretty much going in circles. You know, how in the world do you know how to interact and communicate with people? How can you do that effectively if you're not a person that's like one with yourself? You know, so when you get to the point where you start to realize, okay, there's a lot of stuff with me. A man, you talk about a man who's emotionally dysfunctional. I didn't understand that I was an emotionally dormant person. I didn't understand it, mm-hmm. You know, until I had an experience that showed that to me.
What was that experience? Because this is the many parts of you. So when people write a book and people want to read the book, they see this person, but that's like your favorite actor on TV. And you're looking at him, oh, he's so far away, I can't reach him, he's not tangible. But once you open up that piece to people to let them know, like, hey, I was like you.
Right.
And they got to see that human side. So
right.
I want you to show people the tangible side, the side that not everybody knows. Because this ain't the question everybody going to ask you other than what you want to be when you grow up other than a dolphin. What's the tangible side of you that makes you like the people that are watching you?
That's a legitimate question. I think the tangible part about me that people need to understand, like, I had to go through a maturation process too. It's a process, you know. I'm the same way people have to look at themselves and ask themselves, you know, am I satisfied when I have to do the same thing? I had to do the same thing. I wasn't always this confident person. It's still an ongoing fight, mm-hmm. You know. I wasn't always as self-assured as I was. Mm-hmm. You know, I had to come up too. You know, I'm not always feeling like I'm on top of the world. And sometimes I go through battles of the mind, battles of my heart. You know, there's wars going on inside me, just like the next person. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't always win the fight. But I'm committed to constantly evolving, mm-hmm. as a person. And as long as people are committed to constantly evolving, then your shortcomings don't carry as much weight.
You're saying something right now. I need an offering plate right now. You're saying something. You're definitely saying something. All right, so what is your favorite chapter in this book?
My favorite chapter of the book, the river between us, I think I even explained at the end of the chapter, that serves as like the backdrop of the whole book. And the river between us takes the reader through a transition that I had with a young lady from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And as I was writing the chapter, I could see things happening real vividly. Mm-hmm. I actually had to have conversations with her, and I wanted her perspective about our experience, because I felt like it wouldn't be fair if I just gave it from my perspective and not included hers. Right. I didn't want to do that. And as I was writing the chapter, I could see things real vividly, you know. I would be to myself, and I would be writing. It's something that come to me like an experience or a situation or a moment that we had. And it was crazy because that was the only chapter I could say I wrote that came to me so clearly. But it happened so long ago. But I think that's why it was my favorite chapter, because I was able to resurrect those old feelings, those old memories, and that type of thing to create the chapter the way it was.
That's what writing does for you, and that's what it did for me when I started writing. Because when you write, everything starts coming out.
Yeah.
My favorite chapter is The Man I Am Today.
Yes.
And the reason why that's my favorite chapter, because as I was reading it, it was the build-up, it was the end, and you could just feel the end of it. But I can feel you writing this, because you're like saying things like, I don't want to even get into this chapter, but you have to read the end of this book. You have to read the whole book in order to get to the end. The Man I Am Today, this is how he tells you what he could be doing, but he's not, because the man he is today. And what if he was doing this, but he's not doing it because of the man he is today. So basically this book is just putting everything that's in these other chapters on the end, and it's giving you the comparison of what I could be doing or what I'm not doing because of who I am today. And that's the part I love, because I know the man that is today. Mm-hmm. This is his first book. This is your first book. How do you feel? You finished your first book.
I thought that it would feel different upon getting it in the mail, getting that hard copy. Mm-hmm. I felt like this is the feeling of achievement that I was going for, because this is not so much about the book for me as it is for other people, but the feeling of achievement that came with completing it.
Finishing.
That's always been a struggle for me, a lot, having great starts and not being able to finish. And as a man, that's not acceptable at all.
Say that to the camera.
Definitely. As a man, not closing is unacceptable as a man.
Okay, so if you could leave some folks, women, I want you to say something to men, and I want you to say something to women. I know I'm missing out a chapter that I want to talk about, but that means I'm giving you too much of this book. You got to get it. I want you to leave a final word for women and for men, because this book is for both. It's not just a book to help women out, but it's also for men. But I want you to look into that camera, and I want you to talk to women, and I want you to talk to men. This book is not just for one gender, it's for everyone. Anyone can get anything out of this book. I want you to talk to the people and tell them what is on Anthony's heart. Okay?
What I would tell men, especially of my generation, is that it doesn't make you less of a man to be able to understand who you are emotionally. All right? Society has led us to believe that being men, that we are not allowed to express ourselves emotionally, that we're not allowed to have emotions. But I would tell all men that it's very important, it's paramount that you understand the emotional part of who you are. All right? Because until you do that, if that continues to be a missing element with you, you'll find fault and failure in many of your relationships, especially with women. Because it takes a man knowing himself to be able to embrace a woman and to be able to handle her correctly. Men, we have a whole lot. We have a whole lot to learn. It's hard being a man, especially in the world we live in today, but it's doable. It's doable. And if you want to hold the title of a man, do the work of a man. All right? If you call yourself a man, think like a man. Handle yourself as a man. All right? One thing about myself is I never accepted being the average person. That's unacceptable to me. All right? So as a man, be able to go to your mirror and look at yourself and be satisfied with what you see. And if you're not, let's start working. For my women, I would have all women to know, all right, that you have to make yourself the most important person. All right? Listen, you have to develop some concrete persuasions about yourself. Not what a man told you, not what your mom or your dad told you. Some concrete persuasions about who you are, who you believe you are, who you want to be. All right? Make yourself top priority. Know that you're beautiful. All right? Because as a man, as a gentleman, I can't tell you anything about yourself that can change your life until you believe it first.
I just want to read the back of this book as we end this interview. It says, "The many parts of me, insights from a gentleman." Anthony invites you to tour his world, exposing you to the many parts of who he is, the gentleman, the intellectual, and his profound insights concerning the male character and the standard of a gentleman. With women of his generation in mind, Anthony offers a unique perspective on the complexities of self-worth, emotions, and relationships, as well as his own reflections on his interactions with women. No other piece of literature could be more timely and thought-provoking as Anthony presents the many parts of who he is with the bonus of insights from a gentleman. And so I just want to be so candid with you. When I first read this, before I read the book, I was like, Anthony, you ain't Kanye West. What makes you think folks, I mean, you special, but everybody don't know you. You know, why do they want to read a book that's about you and who you are? But then once I opened up the book and I read, I said, this is not about Anthony. Anthony is using himself as an example as to what a man, how a man is supposed to be. And in different situations, how women are supposed to, because a lot of times, I know I'm cutting back and forth, but a lot of times as women, we're broken.
Right.
And we're running to nice, good men. But we won't know how to carry ourselves around a man of your caliber if we're not emotionally stable, secure in ourselves, confident. So this book tells you, it actually sheds a light. It's like the truth.
You know what's amazing? Just what you said, in that a lot of times what us men have to understand, and this is something I had to learn, is that when you have men, and this can go both ways, but because women deal with this mostly, when you have these conditions of either women have been mistreated, mentally abused, physically abused, that type of thing, as men, a lot of times what we don't understand is we're dealing not just with the person, like there's many parts of who this person is. And you have to know how to speak to each part. And that we shouldn't be holding women in contempt for expressing some of the maladaptive behaviors that they do without understanding the history behind it. If we understand the history behind it, we can actually know how to handle or approach it a little bit better. But having compassion for women who've been through those things and understanding that, look, when it comes to something they're not used to, we must learn to be very patient. Very patient.
Oh.
And that can be difficult, but it's necessary.
I love you. I do.
I love
On
you
camera.
more.
Anthony, I want you to tell the listeners, the viewers, how much this book is, where they can find it at, where they can find you. I'm going to repeat it, but just go ahead and tell them. You got to look at this book. You got to look at this in the front and back. Go ahead and tell them.
You can purchase the book for $12 at www.bookpatch.com. Look forward to be on Amazon pretty soon as well, even in Barnes & Nobles very soon. You can reach me at Facebook as well, at AnthonyBell88 at @ymail.com. And definitely, if you see me on the street, I might have one for you as well.
This is your first book? $12, not 10. Don't try to get the hookup. $12, all right? You can go to www.bookpatch.com. You can contact Anthony at anthonybell88@ymail.com. You can contact him on Facebook at Anthony Bell. If you see what it is, Anthony Bell. You can go to my page. He's one of my friends, Natasha Simms, Anthony Bell. Let's support our home team. He's an artist from Dover, Delaware. So he's an author and an artist all at the same respect. So we have to respect this and we have to support the home team. You want somebody to support you, you have to support others. $12, bookpatch.com, Anthony Bell, 88 Mail, Anthony Bell on Facebook. I just want to thank you for coming on my show. I want to tell you that I'm so godly proud of you and your accomplishment, because this definitely is an accomplishment.
I appreciate it, and you've been very instrumental. I'm glad we got history and that we're doing big things now. I appreciate it. I'm proud of you as well.
Oh, thank you.
You look amazing.
You said that. This is where keeping it thorough. If I was back in the old day, I'd like, he just hit on me. He didn't. This is Anthony right here, so I understand that he ain't hitting on me. He just really giving me a genuine compliment. I want to thank you again, and you guys can find me on Facebook at Real Talk with Tasha. You can find me on Facebook at Natasha Simms. Tune into my Real Talks of the day. I'll have my Real Talk of the week where I'll be questioning some folks in the street about whatever I posted on Facebook. You'll be able to see an artist every week from my Artist of the Week. So if you know someone that sings, someone that writes books, contact me and they can come on and I can debut them as well on Real Talk with Tasha. You're going to see a lot from me in 2016, so I want you to keep watching me. But realtalkwithtasha.com, that's my website, and you can also comment on the Real Talk of the Day on that. Real Talk with Tash on Instagram, Real Talk with Tash on Twitter. You already know, Real Talk with Tash. Anytime you type it up, I'm going to pop it up. Stay tuned for the next show. I don't even want to tell you what's it about, but stay tuned. That way you can see my next artist. I love you, and I'm out.